held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth and Act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice the time and place of this hearing was published in the Fairhaven Neighborhood News on October 18, 2024. It was also posted in the town clerk's office. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and I just ask anybody in the audience, if you have your cell phones, please put them on silent. First order of business, continued public hearing, stormwater. AMN Estate Holdings LLC, 39 Keene Road. A stormwater permit application has been filed by AMN Estate Holdings for property located at 39 Keene Road, Map 2, Lot 16, 12G, 13B. The applicant proposes to construct a 6-lot residential subdivision including 702 linear feet of roadway with a cul-de-sac turnaround, on-site sewage disposal systems, and private wells. The applicant is represented by John Marchand of Fallon Corp. Plan name is Drainage Map, Angelo Drive Subdivision, dated August 30th, 2023. Revised March 25th, 2024. Review of matters presented. Votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Marchand, the floor is yours.
Good evening, John Marchand from Farland Corp. Here on behalf of AMN Estate Holdings. We were here in front of the commission 2 weeks ago to discuss the changes that were made to the plan. I believe at that time the commission had not had a chance to review the peer review letter. There was one outstanding item regarding stormwater in that peer review letter. They were looking for some additional detail on the dimensions of the overflow for the basin. So we provided that in the revised plan. We did meet with planning board last week. They approved the plan, so hoping the commission will do the same.
Comments? Anybody? Anybody from the audience for this project? 39 Keene Road, no? Well, I guess I'll just say that I watched the planning board meeting. I spoke with the peer review engineer, Bill Madden. He said that all the boxes have been checked off on the project. That's pretty much what I got. They do have their permit from the planning board. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to issue a stormwater permit for 39 Keene Road because the system has been designed in compliance with the town of Acushnet stormwater regulations and the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All set.
Thank you.
Oh, just, the surety, that's the only thing, right? I don't know if that's been handled. I think it's in the operation and maintenance plan, and we record the operation and maintenance plan as well.
Okay.
So it'll be
You sent that to me, right, on the,
yeah.
The O&M?
yeah.
Yep.
It's in
Yeah.
there, right?
And I
Okay.
think-
There's
I think
nothing's
there's-
changed to it since,
No.
No. And there's an estimate of how much per
Yearly
year for
annual
maintenance.
budget.
Yeah, so that would be the surety.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you can get that to Joanne, we'll sign off on the stormwater.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
All right. Old business. Continued public hearing. Notice of intent, Lake Street. New Bedford Reservoir, Lakes 1, 2, and 4. Map 3, Lot 13. Map 4, Lot 49. And Map 19, Lot 32. SE file number 0010595. A notice of intent was filed by James Kelly, Town of Acushnet, for the property located at New Bedford Reservoir, Lakes 1, 2, and 4. The applicant proposes the removal at the root of invasive weeds from areas of the New Bedford Reservoir, Lakes 1, 2, and 4, located in Acushnet using an eco-harvester. The applicant is represented by Scott Daggett, Lake Street Improvement Committee. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Daggett, how you doing?
Good evening. So since our last meeting, there's been no new developments. I did receive a letter. I believe the commission has a copy of that letter that was dated August 27th of 2024 from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries and Wildlife, signed by Amanda Davis, Environmental Analyst, Massachusetts Division of Marine Fisheries. And the letter pertains to the order of conditions that was applied, this letter is in reference to the notice of intent that was submitted that they reviewed. And I believe, as it states in the letter, that they had no taking of any particular habitat, no particular species that would be affected by any of the work that we plan on doing in the ponds. And the only other item is a letter, a previous letter from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife that was dated October 10th. I believe you have all read that one as well. And that one just laid out particular toy restrictions, time of year restrictions in which we can actually do this work because of certain species out there. I think it was American eel and alewife or something to that effect where, because of the egg laying season of that particular species. But we don't plan on doing any work during that time anyways. The work that we plan on doing is in August. They laid that out in the October 10th letter, and the August 27th letter just stated that there was no impact to any particular species or any taking of any habitat. So, still waiting on.
Sorry to interrupt, it was just opposite. Marine Fisheries said, Division of Fish and Wildlife said that there was no take.
Right.
And then Division of Marine Fisheries was the one, so you got, all the information's
Yeah.
correct, it's just.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it's a little bit of confusion between fisheries and wildlife and marine fisheries.
Right.
Still waiting on some comment from Mass DEP. I imagine that's probably going to take anywhere from another week, couple weeks to maybe a month. But now that's where we currently are. So we're just waiting on more input from the state.
Excellent. Anybody on the commission? Comments? You got anything, Mike?
Yeah, the discussion with DEP, is it related to the water quality sampling or the monitoring plan? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't know exactly what their comments are going to be based on the notice of intent.
Okay, so it's still comments.
Yeah, so they're still, I believe I checked with the secretary at the selectman's office to make sure that they did receive the notice of intent. She informed me that it was currently being under review. So once we get those comments, then we'll just address those comments. I know in one of these letters, there was mention of water quality monitoring, the potential impacts of removing the weeds. So I guess they want to compare before and after. They want to make sure that what we're doing is effective. We still need to put together some kind of plan. As it stated, I believe in this August 27th letter, that we need to lay out some kind of an action plan as to how we're going to monitor that. And I have a few ideas. I'm going to speak to the rest of the Acushnet, the Lake Street Improvement Committee, the other two members, maybe get some input or discussion from maybe Selectman Woolner, see if we can, do something with maybe taking some photographs with drones before we go out there and actually start removing some of these weeds. And then next year, the year after that, do another drone flight so that we can compare one year to the other so that we can see how effective, whether the weed growth is actually coming back a little bit faster than what we anticipated, or whether, the actions that we're actually taking are going to stick, or actually going to, provide, some clarity in the ponds. We could also do some additional water quality studies. I did check there's a website that's run by the state that has water quality monitoring stations throughout different areas in the 3 ponds at Lake Street. I'm gonna do more research on that to see if those are actual water quality stations or if those are just locations where they did prior tests. If I can get some information as to some of the water quality results, maybe we can compare them from year to year, because I do have a set that was done back, I think, 2 or 3 years ago that Solitude had done. So, maybe we can compare, see if the water quality is actually improved.
Yeah, and we spoke just briefly about some of that, so I'm happy to, help out if I can, if I have time, but,
Yeah. Did you ever get an opportunity to reach out to?
I haven't yet, but I went, the letter, August 27, they suggest there's a template, and it's reference number 5 for water quality monitoring. So it's basic stuff, temperature, dissolved oxygen, but it's laid out there pretty well too, but I had written down some
Yeah.
ideas. So,
Yeah.
I had one other question. So I think one other thing that had come up before was, and I don't know how you'll address this, it's probably in the NOI already, but disposal of the weeds, invasive species when you get them out of the ponds.
Yeah, so I don't believe I covered that in the notice of intent. We've had some discussion in the past as to how we're gonna actually manage that. There's some issuing with dewatering. So what Jeff had proposed from C&D Underwater, once they get the weeds in the hopper, after they've pulled them from the pond, put them in the hopper is going to dispose of them or dump them on the shoreline. Allow them to dewater for maybe a day or two, or however long it's going to take to dewater. And then there was some discussion in the past as to trucking them, maybe using DPW resources to the town yard, and landscapers can use that material for compost. But that's something that's ongoing. Once we get closer to actually doing that, we will have, we'll have a better scope as to, I'll get in touch with Dan Menard, see if that's something that, we can do. If we can't, we'll try to work something out with, even if we have to hire a local landscaper or someone to take it away. We would prefer not to do that because we don't want to incur any more costs, because the budget right now is, it's kind of tight, relating to, just the weed removal itself. And, eventually we're going to look into more funding, because this is going to be a multi-year project. So, to answer your question, we have ideas. We just got to figure out whether or not they're feasible to implement them or not.
What did Lakeville implement when they did it?
I do not know. I can reach out to Jeff, because Jeff did the work at Lakeville. I can ask him if he has any knowledge of what they've done. If not, I can reach out to the Conservation Commission there and find out how they managed it.
I remember when you were doing the first time you filed the notice of intent, I was in contact with, I want to say it was the chair from Lakeville. So I do have her email. I can forward that to you so you can get in contact with her.
Yeah, plus I can also get in contact with the, I believe I don't believe the town had any, not like what we're trying to do here, but I believe there's some kind of like a homeowner type or some
Right.
type of a, I forget exactly what you call it, some community of people who live on the ponds who actually, I think they paid into it a little bit along with, the town helping out, and I think they're the ones who pretty much implemented that whole process.
Yeah.
I know they had somebody going down there with a dump trailer, and they weren't really dewatering, they were just, as soon as the stuff was coming out of the water, they were putting it right into a dump trailer.
Yeah.
I didn't ask them where they were bringing it. Well, by the way, I was there. I didn't ask them where they were bringing it or who was doing it, but that was the way that they were doing it.
Yeah.
So
No,
as soon as you-
I remember somebody from the Concom, it was either the chair or the agent that I spoke with. and they said that it was great for landscapers.
Yeah, I remember the gentleman that was doing, what was his name, the one that runs the machine there that owns it?
Jeff.
Jeff was in the truck. The truck wasn't marked, so there was no telling on where it went. But, yeah, that's exactly what they were doing. They were taking it out and bringing it somewhere.
Anybody from the public?
I
Comments?
had a question.
Go ahead.
Have you guys done any research on what's causing the rapid growth of these weeds in the first place?
No, but we suspect that there's a couple of different things that are affecting it. Doing some research as to, how these plants grow so rapidly. A lot of the nutrients that they absorb, phosphorus being one of them. There's the potential that, maybe there's some failing septic systems upstream. Maybe the cranberry growers, when they flush their bogs back out into the ponds, whatever, herbicides or fertilizers or whatever that they're using, have some impact.
So, I'm just trying to figure out how to word this. Wouldn't it be,
Advantageous? Advantageous?
Advantageous, that's too big for me to understand. Wouldn't it be a smart idea to figure out what's causing the weeds to grow at a high, rapid rate
Right.
before we start throwing a whole bunch of money into this
A
project?
little bit of preventive medicine, you're thinking. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking about strategically planning this, because to just continuously do this and just chase the dog around the yard over and over and over again, when the problem of the weeds, the problem that's causing the weeds in the first place is not being addressed, is kind of, in my eyes, just,
Well,
I wouldn't build a house and then try to build a foundation afterward.
right. So this weed growth just, didn't happen over a year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. This weed growth has been progressively getting worse for decades. It's not like, 5 years down the road, it's exponentially worse. It's a long process, and we're hoping that if we can tackle it before it gets to a point of no return, we can save the quality of these ponds. Now, some of the smaller ponds, like the one that's across the street from Tom Davis, the only thing that I can think of that would be affecting that is, boats going in from one pond to the other, and they're tracking more of that stuff in. I can't, I don't know, maybe if there's...
I totally understand what you're saying, but I still think we're putting the cart in front of the horse here. Personally, we might want to try to figure out, maybe, or not even just try to figure, maybe we should put more effort into finding the cause and how we could prevent this nitrogen, correct, levels from getting so high. Maybe not even before a while we're doing the project. I understand that there's a great number of people that would like to see these ponds be cleaned up, but on the other aspect, it's a substantial amount of money to be just throwing around. I just, in a business aspect, and the way I look at it, I think maybe we should try to figure out maybe a little bit more about what's causing this before we make
Mr.
any.
Chairman, can I ask a related question?
Yeah, yeah.
So, my understanding is that's the intent of the water quality monitoring. And whether or not, the letter from DMF, identifies, if you're planning to do water quality monitoring, you need the parameters, you need the plan. But there's also other data sets that DEP has produced in the previous NOI. So there is some long-term data. So at least you can track the trend in terms of identifying where it's coming from, that would be ideal, but I agree, but I just,
No, I-
it's a, some of the longer term.
I kind of agree, I agree with both of you, but definitely like, really what I had on this for tonight was the water quality monitoring, and I think that ties into that a lot. Because it's been a couple of years since Solitude did the water quality.
Yeah, I think.
So I think if
close.
there's, and it says frequency, and I think if you came up with a regimen, that's kind of what I was gonna ask, but you actually answered all my questions. But like kind of following this to a T, coming up with some sort of, plan on, in frequency of monitoring, I think, that'll tell a lot as well.
Yeah. But one question I have, and this kind of leads to what Mr. DeBarros was mentioning. At some point, we all remember that we used to be able to swim in those ponds. And then the beaches got shut down, signs were put up, no wading, no swimming. Is there any kind of documentation that explains the reasons why those ponds were no longer allowed to be swum in or swimmed in or waded in? Because maybe that kind of leads to what Mr. DeBarros is trying to get at, is that at some point, these ponds were in really great shape. And then, they progressively got worse time after time, year after year. And at some point, someone in town, or maybe the city of New Bedford, since they own the ponds, made the decision, no wading, no swimming. I haven't seen any signs that say, do not eat the fish. So, as to what's actually impacting the ponds out there, I guess it's anybody's guess unless there's some documentation somewhere in town that.
I mean, you have to say right now, Scott, right? One of the biggest problems around is nitrogen, right? And you have all these new houses, you have all the cranberry growers, you get Keith Box Company, Keith Farms, right? All these places that use fertilizers, everybody's lawn, right? So these ponds are a big stormwater catch, right? So everybody that's using fertilizers, everything else, all this nitrogen, bad septic systems that have gone bad that you don't have to replace them as long as you keep living there, right? And as long as it don't back up. So you just have to say, my own personal opinion, I think the biggest problem with these ponds is the nitrogen that they're accepting, that's going into them. Mm-hmm. And then what thrives any plant? Nitrogen, right? So my own personal opinion, I think that we have a huge nitrogen issue in this pond that's making these things take off now wild. And you say it's been over a progression, right? It's been a while. But you take and you look at the town. We weren't once this big. Right? So everything has gotten so much bigger. And then you look at all these houses, they all have beautiful lawns, all sprinkler systems. They have some company going there fertilizing every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. And you have to say to yourself, this nitrogen is going somewhere, and it's going into storm runoff. Storm runoff is collected right into those lakes. And I think this is the biggest, my personal opinion, is the biggest thing is nitrogen that's affecting this.
And I would think it would be almost nearly impossible to restrict people's nitrogen use on their lawns. I mean, you could write up a bylaw saying, you're only, allowed to use so many pounds of nitrogen a year on your lawn, but who's going to monitor it?
And it's never going to go into effect.
Right.
Because the people that have those beautiful lawns usually have a lot more money than we do.
True.
Just saying.
So the only thing, that we can do is, what we're proposing to do, and that's going to be a multi-year project, given these ponds pretty much a haircut when it comes to, eliminating these weeds.
Yeah. So.
Did, has anybody even done a physical examination of what's actually going on around these ponds?
As to what, like activities?
So, unfortunately, a lot of paperwork seems to go missing when they're being developed. These areas are being developed, but if you did a simple walk around, you could find plumbing, piping, etc. That would give you strong evidence of what's getting drained into this pond. Has anybody walked it? Has anybody took the time to get out there and say, okay, let's walk all the way around these ponds. Let's do some investigation work. Data is awesome, guys. I'm not against data. You guys are, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that's not mentioned. People, like you said, there's laws out there, people don't always obey them. Maybe there's somebody out there training stuff into it. Is there any, that would be a simple, I see a simple way of just starting to go to figuring out like how this nitrogen level is getting so high. Has anybody been able to go out and do that?
To my knowledge, no.
The other thing is the water quality will tell us what's being dumped in there.
Well, it will tell us what's being dumped in there, but it won't tell us the main question.
Yeah,
Is
but
where
if
is
we
it
get the
coming from?
results and we say, okay, something's really going crazy, and especially we have different points, we can say, okay, at this point, it's really higher than anyone else. Now let's take and go walk it. What I'm saying is we can use that data to really point out different areas, because the water sample's in different areas, and we can point it out and go from there. And I think tonight is a lot about the water sampling, correct? So if we do that, that can give us directions which way to go.
I understand that, but that also costs money.
Yeah, but they're doing it. So what I'm saying, since they're doing it, we can look at it.
What part of the notice of intent they're gonna
Yeah.
have? That's the
Yeah, but what I'm
recommendation
getting,
from.
the only thing I'm getting at is a simple walk around. Doesn't cost anybody no money. And it might just be like, hey, look at this. All the road stormwater is coming out over here. Maybe we have to replumb this area to go a different way, other area, instead of having to wait and find out the hard way of what's going on and what areas are getting more. We will already have an educated guess on where these areas are gonna come up.
Well, if I may, I think that if you were to do any kind of a physical walk around, you would have to get permission from each and every abutter to that pond.
Right.
Or
And if
maybe
they
you
say,
could
and if they
ask
say
the
no,
abutters.
and if they say no, and you go on that property, now you're trespassing.
Okay, that's all ifs. We're all.
True.
So you can go out, even with a notice of intent, you gotta let everybody notified in the first place. I'm sure it might even cut down on the walking around. If you had willing neighbors that were willing to go out there and take a look for themselves, it might, another free aspect before we start throwing millions of dollars or $500,000 at this project. It's just little baby steps that are free that maybe would cost, that would save us time and money in the long run. Yeah, I'm
All
not,
right, point noted.
I'm not,
That's a good point.
I'm not trying to shut down I'm just trying to say like, hey, maybe we can do some small baby steps before we go and take this giant step. Because even, me personally, I strongly feel that for us to pay out and have somebody come out and do this is not the most financially way of going about the project. Because now that just limits that project to that pond. This town also has other problems in other ponds that need to be addressed too. If we actually bought the equipment to do this stuff, we could address other ponds and other problem areas at the same time, which would help us financially fund this project.
Yeah, well, that was one thing that was discussed a little while back, is potentially buying our own eco-harvester and doing this ourselves, so that, the ponds at the golf course or Lake Street or, any other town-owned property, could benefit from this.
At the end of the day though, I just feel we need to do some small steps in actually doing some hands-on free work.
Mark, have you something to say?
I wanted to add on to Eric's points, but also Mr. Daggett brought up that there are existing sample sites on at least 3 of the ponds, and whether they're being actively monitored. And that's one way it'll provide some long-term trends if it's getting worse. But when you design the water quality sampling, if someone's actually going to go out, I don't know if that would entail that, but you can actually go out and collect samples at different points. You got to get them processed, so we'd have to talk to DEP, because I think at the state, that's who you can turn them in. But you could actually target, like, water quality at the upper end of the lake, midpoint, and,
Yeah.
and you're gonna, if you can see changes, track changes in the concentrations of nitrogen or phosphorus, that, at least it provides some evidence,
Of where we can start looking.
yeah, to look, or, yeah, so that's just one thought, but Mr. Daggett, Scott brought it up that, I mean, there's already some sampling sites out there, and I don't know if they're being actively used or not. My guess is they probably are, but I don't know.
Yeah, I have
Follow up.
to, I have to actively research that. And I was looking at some of the data, and just about every one of them says data not available, contact so-and-so. So I may have to make a few phone calls to find out if, there is actual data for those sites.
I'm happy if you want to talk again and can get a couple of those numbers, I can try to make a couple
And,
calls too. Those contacts would be good for me personally,
One more.
professionally.
One more final thing. You said that you could give the date when they shut down the whole swimming and stuff, right?
I don't know exactly when
What
that
time frame?
took place. I mean,
I'm sure you could look into it and find out, right?
I'm sure, I was assuming that maybe the Conservation Commission had some data
I could ask.
relating to that. I'm sure that's something that the Conservation.
That could have been before Acushnet was leasing
Right.
ponds.
Well,
When did they shut
Just,
it down? My record of it. Why did they shut it down for swimming? Because of duck feces in the water, as far as I remember.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but
Because there was a time there, if you walked off the town beach into the ponds, it was like,
Sludge at the bottom.
yeah,
Duck sludge.
duck sludge.
well, that's a good point. The kind of, but I was
But
gonna say, if you can
there
get
used to
that
be a lot
time
more
frame,
waterfowl out there on the ponds too,
yeah.
than there are right now.
if you can find out that time frame, my next step in my investigation, if I was gonna be investigating this, would be what was being done in that area for construction wise. And then you could start figuring out what projects were going on, then maybe start looking into those projects. It'll give you another good area of where to start trying to go with the looking. But good walk around, I just feel that might need to be done.
All right, anybody from the public to comment on this? No? All right, Scott, what do you think? December?
Next meeting?
Or no,
the
no, next
13th,
meeting's November
and then the
13th,
next
right?
one is December 11th.
So, like,
You wanna do December 11th?
I would say December, that way it gives,
Just still wait to hear back from
yeah, that way it gives
DEP
DEP
and
plenty
then,
of time.
maybe, sketch out something with some sort of water quality monitoring
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, and maybe I can reach out to the city of New Bedford, maybe they know the reasons.
Yeah, have they been receptive to your
Well,
calls? or-
so, no, in the past, they have not been receptive. I have not been in communication with anybody from the Conservation Commission over there. Just because, we're just trying to get this thing started.
Right.
We're not really into the bones of it just yet. As we get closer to that date, and if we have more meetings, maybe I'll reach out to them and see if they're interested. I know Chance had wanted to, be in the loop, but, he received a copy of the notice of intent,
Yep.
and I never received any comments, so I have no idea what their involvement, their input is.
Excellent.
Board of Health might be able to tell them why they actually physically closed it.
Yeah.
That's what I
It
was.
was our town beach.
Yeah, yeah. I'll reach out. I'll reach out and see if I can get some information, and maybe that can kind of guide us in a certain direction to, create some kind of a preventive maintenance plan if we need to,
Right.
or at least get some idea as to, what's been feeding these weeds.
Excellent. All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue to our December 11th meeting.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. And that was
Appreciate it.
December 11th?
Yep. December 11th.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, next item, notice of intent, stormwater, White's Farm, that has been continued to the November 13th meeting. Next order of business, continued public hearing, notice of intent, Justin Lawrence, Lambert Street, map 18, lots 4G, 4H, and 4K, SC file number 0010597. A notice of intent has been filed by Justin Lawrence for property located at Lambert Street, map 18, lots 4G, 4H, and 4K. The applicant proposed to construct a single-family dwelling and gravel driveway and the installation of underground utilities with the filling and grading within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by David Davignon of PE of Schneider Davignon Leone Incorporated. Plan name is Site Plan for property located at the end of Lambert Street in Acushnet, Mass. Dated September 25th, 2024. Revised plan dated October 10th, 2024. Review matters presented. Votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Davignon? floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Commission members. Again, for the record, Dave Davignon. I represent Justin Lawrence, who's here with me this evening. 2 weeks ago, we presented the project to the Commission. I believe it was October 9th. We requested a continuance for 2 reasons. One, so that we can go to the planning board the following week, which did happen last week. The planning board did vote to accept the plan that we presented. And the second reason we continued was to further enhance the existing drainage ditch by implementing a swale, help carry off water to the wetland system in the back of our property, which we did submit a revised plan the following day, October 10th, with a cover letter. As far as I know, the abutter is here in support of the project, so we therefore seek to close the public hearing and to get a vote for a positive order of conditions.
All right. Any comments, questions, concerns? Board, no? Anybody from the public here to speak on this? No? I watched the planning board meeting. I saw, the plans, the neighbors okay with it. It's a family compound. Is this the last lot for the,
Yes,
this is the final lot?
there are no other lots that are available.
It's a single-family dwelling, and again, it's, nice little family compound, so I don't have any issues with it. I saw the drainage swale, as long as the neighbor's okay with it, I'm okay with it. It's a well-defined wetland. I walked the whole site, found the stakes for the dwelling. Yeah. That's all I got on it. So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to issue a positive order of conditions for, is there a house number on that? No. For
No.
Justin Lawrence on Lambert Street, map 18, lots 4G, 4H, and 4K.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck. Okay. I mean, Dave, you're on here as well too. I hate to, I'll entertain a motion to take the agenda out of order just to get Mr. Davignon out of here.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing, RDA, Brooks, I apologize, guys, this is pretty cut and dry. Public hearing, RDA, Brookside Realty Trust, care of John P. Matthew, 1094 Main Street, map 7, lot 15. Request for determination was filed by Brookside Realty Trust, care of John P. Matthew, for property located at 1094 Main Street. The applicant requests that the Conservation Commission confirm that the stream at the site is intermittent. The applicant is represented by Dave Davignon, Schneider, and Leone. Plan name is Plan to Accompany RDA Application at 1094 Main Street in Acushnet, Mass. Dated October 3rd, 2024. Review matters presented. Votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for taking that out of order.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate that. For the record, Dave Davignon, I represent Brookside Realty Trust. As the commission knows, they've been to the site before. It's a mobile home park. There was an ANRAD done earlier this year by a different firm who are developing a solar farm in the fields in the back. They have yet to file that notice of intent. But at the time, they had the commission walk and approve through peer review all the wetland resource areas on the site, specifically an extensive amount of wetlands on the site. Part of that, ANRAD showed the stream as perennial. They had no choice but to show it as perennial because it's shown on the USGS map as a solid blue line, which means it's presumed to be perennial until proven otherwise. So we were there somewhere about a month back, noticed the stream was dry, took some photographs 4 different days. We've also ran the stream stats program that DEP requires to show that it's the watershed for that stream is less than 1 square mile. So we meet the threshold for it to be determined intermittent, which is a significant change in for the property owner relative to his use of the property. So we were there on Saturday. It was still dry. I've actually visited when it rained heavy, maybe 3 weeks ago, and I went the next day and the next day and kept following it, and then it just shrinks up. I think it's one of those streams that carries a lot of water in the springtime during the wet season, but a lot of the year it isn't running much at all. So we simply filed an RDA, request for determination of applicability, solely for the determination that the stream is intermittent at this property.
Comments, concerns, questions?
Have we seen pictures? Have you sent pictures to us of the?
Yep, in the RDA packet, I submitted, the pictures are dated. They're taken with a camera, they're all dated. I also submitted an affidavit that I took all the photographs. They're all taken from the same angle of the culvert. Looking up the culvert, you can see a storage unit that he has there, and so all the pictures were taken from the same locations. I actually took a 5th day. It was not the best photograph because it was a darker day, cloudy in the morning. So I submitted 5, an affidavit testing that I took the pictures, and then the stream stats calculations.
And we went there for a site visit on Saturday, so.
Yeah, I didn't make the visit.
Right, you could call that the 6th day, essentially.
Yep.
I think it's still dry.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public to comment on this project? No? All right. Yeah, so it was still dry when we were there on Saturday. Any other comments, concerns, questions? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to determine that the stream is intermittent based on the documentation provided to us by Mr. DeVignan, as required by the Wetland Protection Act.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Dave.
I still say you should have made him wait.
All right, new business. Public hearing, notice of intent, Deep Brook Estates LLC, Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17 and 18, lots 66, 68, 70, 73, 74, 75, 77, 79, 80, 81, 83, 84, and lots 18, 18G, 12S, and 12R. Is there an SE file number for this?
It just came in today.
Just came
But
in.
it,
Okay, I don't have it to read it out loud, but
I think-
there is a,
59898, I think.
I'm sorry, what was it?
0598.
0598. All right, a notice of intent was filed, Deep Brook Estates LLC for property located at Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, Acushnet, Mass, Deep Brook Estates. The applicant proposes to finish construction on 2 subdivision roadways and drainage for the development of a 15-lot single-family residential subdivision within the 100-foot buffer zone of a bordering vegetated wetland Due to an expired order of conditions, the applicant is represented by Jamie Bissonette of Zenith Consulting Engineers, LLC. The plan name is Deep Brook Estates Definitive Subdivision Plan off Park Drive, Acushnet, Massachusetts, dated October 24th, 2017. Review of matters presented, votes may be taken. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. Like you said, Mr. Chair, this is filing because our order of conditions expired. So I know that we had a site walk on Saturday, the commission got to see, or the majority of the commission got to see the site. I believe the agent was out there this week, maybe for a little bit. You didn't get to swing by? I don't know. Oh, okay. But anyways, what I'll do is I'll go through the presentation. I'm guessing that everybody's very familiar with the site. And then whatever questions, comments you have, I'm happy to address them. As you're probably aware, this is a 15-lot residential subdivision, partially under construction. We did get the DEP file number today, as noted. This subdivision has two roads, or proposed roads, that are under construction. Park Drive, which is extended, as you can see, running vertical on the plan here, and then Deep Brook Drive, which runs left to right. Both are presently in gravel condition. Park Drive does have utilities, drainage structures and the like in the ground with steel plates placed on top of them. There's also additional structures that are over on the side because construction stopped kind of abruptly when we found out our permit was expired. As you'll notice, to the top right-hand side of this page, the drainage basin at the end of Park Drive is installed. The two drainage basins for Deep Brook Drive are cleared. Those areas are cleared, but the basins are not installed yet. Last year, we were in front of you doing the stormwater permit. Somehow inadvertently through the process when this was originally permitted, there was no record of a stormwater permit issued. While the drainage was reviewed and peer reviewed originally, and Planning Board and Conservation issued their permits, the town has a stormwater bylaw. So we worked with the town to get the stormwater in compliance under the bylaw. Beals and Thomas did the peer review. I think that the only thing outstanding on the stormwater would be the bond to complete that. But I know this board was the one that reviewed that with Beals and Thomas and was comfortable with it. We're not looking to make any changes. We're just looking to update our approval since it lapsed with the conservation. Since that time, as you're aware, Natural Heritage has taken jurisdiction of the majority of the property. We have spent the past 10 months, 12 months discussing this with Natural Heritage, trying to figure out how to proceed forward. We're at a point with them where they recommended we file the notice of intent and appear in front of the commission. So we think that we have a path forward on this project, and we're here before you tonight, hopefully to move towards getting an order of conditions so we can complete the project out here. I'm happy to try to address any questions you have.
Questions, comments? So, you know, my biggest thing really is, you know, this project had already started. There is utilities in the ground, there's catch basins, drainage, stuff like that in the ground. Stormwater basins already partially or, you know, 3/4 of the way constructed. You know, with the lapse of the order of conditions, I guess my biggest thing is, you know, I don't want to set any precedents. Delineation's good for 3 years. We found as a commission on other projects that delineations, you know, may not be correct after 3 years. You know, things change. So I guess our biggest thing is, or my biggest thing would be to have the wetland line, the stormwater calculations that, you know, we went through that with a fine tooth comb, and they did that process. We did, you know, this was back in 17. I wasn't on the commission, Everett, I believe was, were you? Okay. So yeah, I mean, I think it's something, you know, that we need to look at.
Okay.
That's really what I got. Any comments from the public? I imagine you guys are here. for that. Yeah, so that's essentially what I'm thinking that needs to go down on our end, you know, just to make sure that the delineations are correct. I mean, as for the project itself, I mean, it's not, I don't think the delineation's gonna affect the roadway construction, because I mean, it's already built, you know, and there is a replication area, I know that, that's
There's two of them.
two of them, yes. But, you know, ultimately, it may affect some of the lots, so, but, you know, every lot individually is gonna be filing as well, so, and the delineations may, you know, shrink the lots down. I don't know, they may have to go for variances for the certain lots. That's, you know, that's not our jurisdiction.
Well,
Ultimately,
ultimately,
I
I
think
think
to
the
be seen.
delineation lines.
Right.
Yeah.
So normally what we would do is send it off to Bill Madden, and we were doing that in the absence of an agent. We now have an agent. And at one time, we did have a list of peer review engineers that we
We
used.
still do.
Right, but we've been declined by many of them due to other projects that they're doing in town. Like, we use Beals and Thomas.
Yeah, we can't use Bill Madden on this
We
one.
can't use Bill Madden on this one. I imagine Beals and Thomas isn't gonna use it.
Nope.
So, I had talked to Mark, and I just, you know, did a Google search, and, you know, and by qualified environmental engineers near us, and this is what we got. I know you guys were handed the list.
Yep, I actually looked at it.
So, they're relatively local. I think we've used LEC before. Ecosystem Solutions was recommended to me. I looked them up. They seem pretty legit. But what I think, which we've also done in the past, is I think, you know, we send out the plans to these three engineers. We get a quote, and we submit the quotes to Zenith and Mr. Costello, and let him decide on which quote they want to go with. And, you know,
I agree.
I think that's it's fair for all parties.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
reasonable.
if there's any conflict with us, you know, I mean,
Well,
we don't have a
I
conflict.
mean, no, I think there is, right?
No. So, you know, and I expect the same from them, you know, I know they would.
What was the reasoning for not updating your filing?
Requesting the extension,
Yeah.
I think it was a misunderstanding of the date of expiration. The client was informed that the Permit Extension Act, because of COVID, the tolling period, that they were allowed the extra 482 days, but they weren't. There was a fine window in which they fell that disqualified them, we believe, from the extension. And so, I think it was just most likely a misunderstanding or a miscommunication.
All right.
My only worries is that, with the construction that was done, that those delineations are gonna change.
Mm.
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
but
I
they're not
wanted to
gonna,
send it
they're
out.
not gonna go into the road. The road's already built.
I understand, I am not against that, I'm just, I don't know, it's kind of a rock and a hard place. I just don't know how fair it would be to the applicant. Unfortunately, it did.
No,
It did. But I could just,
It's a tough situation. I just think it's really the proper way to go forward. And, I mean, I'm fair with everybody. I think my track record says that. I just think it's the right thing to do, and send it out to peer, it has to go to peer review,
it would,
you know?
maybe it would be in the best interest of the applicant to have multiple outlooks. Could we do that? Instead of just have it, maybe it would be better for him to have two people look at it instead of one?
We don't typically do that. I
Yeah, no, I
mean,
don't.
No, we don't typically do that.
That
but
would be an
with-
expense on their end.
Yeah, I
Well,
know,
you're just
that's-
gonna,
I-
yeah,
I-
incur more
I know-
costs. I don't.
I
They
do,
accrued a lot of costs with the stormwater end of it. There was a lot of peer review. There was back and forths. There was a lot of eyes on it.
maybe I'm not saying to make a motion with that in it, I'm just saying it might be in his best interest.
I feel if we send them out to have it, the new delineation line put in, or have that one checked, I think that is fair to have one company go out there. We never tell anybody to use two companies to make sure it's right. I mean, when was the last time you guys did the delineation line there?
On this, I believe it was sometime around 2016.
I'm just worried that,
There might be some big moves, we don't know.
That's-
Let's
I'm
get
just
another guy
worried
in there and
that's-
find out.
But that's part of the peer review process. Now, they'll go out there and delineate, and then Jamie will have one of his guys, or Jamie himself, or whoever does it for Zenith, they'll say, hey, I think you're off here, and then, they meet in the middle, or come to some sort of consensus, They don't split, they don't split hairs,
and I'm just worried that, the site of one may be different than the site of the other, and would it cost more money? Yes, but if they were to lose a couple lots, it would cost a lot more.
right.
They're the experts, I say we let
Well,
them.
I think,
I'm just making a suggestion.
Well, it's been almost 9 years, correct,
Yeah,
since
well,
the
yeah.
delineation line, 8 years, right?
Yes.
So that means it's already should have been checked 3 times, or going on the 3rd time, because 3 years expires, right?
Right, well, typically.
So
Right,
if
sorry to
we
interrupt.
send it in and have it done now, that's gonna update it right to where we are today. Everyone's gonna know what the real line is, whether it follows that or moves. I'm not being crude, I just say I really don't care what it does. It's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So as long as we get another company out there, check out the delineation line, see if it moved. If it didn't move, it's all great for you guys. If it did move, you might have to change a little things, and we'll address that when it happens. But let's get someone out there, go with a new delineation line. I think what Ryan is saying is perfect. We go send it out to 3 different bidders, 3 different engineers, say, here you go, these are the 3 that have it, these are the quotes, you guys pick them, and go from there.
I got LEC and Ecosystems. What was the
And-
third?
And a gentleman had submitted his resume to Mark, John Rockwell.
Okay. I'm familiar with all 3 companies.
Okay.
Oh, then we don't want to use them. No, I'm only kidding.
No, I mean, they do business.
It's-
I get what the delineation things were.
No, I get your point, but
In
talking
some outlook, one guy looks at something totally different than the other.
some people are a little more conservative than others, but that's part of the process. Is normally, I've talked to Brad Holmes before, and he told me normally you're talking like a foot.
Yeah, and they meet in the
And
middle.
then they meet in the middle
Yeah.
at 6 inches. It's typically how it goes, I mean,
Yeah.
there's gonna be, all these engineers have picked each other apart for years.
Yeah.
They all
Yeah.
do it,
I'm just.
I'm sure LEC's, they've, delineated stuff or peer reviewed stuff from LEC or
I'm
whatever.
not saying.
So I guess my question is, so are you guys okay with this proposal to move this project forward?
We think that
Comfortable.
it's fair.
I say we
We like
move
the
this
idea
along.
of seeing the 3 and being able to work and look at the numbers. Like
Yeah.
you said, there's been a big cost burden,
I
and
have a question.
Let's move this on
My
like a professional
my
side.
question is, are they just delineating the wetlands around the roadways?
I would say that all the wetlands
All the wetlands I would ask for.
on the.
The entire
yeah.
property, correct?
I think that's what our intention is to have the line for the site locked in, because one works with the other. We
I
definitely, yeah.
I'm
I
thinking-
appreciate, that's a great question, though.
I'm thinking just, right now, we're talking about finishing your roads.
We are, yep.
That's what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I appreciate
And the
that.
house lots are coming back to us, so,
Yes, they are. I think that we'd like to lock in the entire resource area line, though.
okay.
That makes
I
sense.
think that makes sense too, so
Yeah,
that,
right.
once the road's done, you can
one and
stop.
done, one and done.
Right.
Yeah.
I just see the delineation going both ways, because now the landscape has changed drastically.
Right.
And it might move a lot, we don't know, right?
We'll find out. I think we're all in agreement that's the fair way to go forward. I try to be fair with everybody. I thought about this, and I think that's the best way to go.
So is the process, you're gonna send out for 3 bids.
Yep,
You're going to share, the agent's gonna share the bids with us.
yep,
We're going to review them. Do we respond to Mr. Milton and say, listen, we've elected to go with X?
yep,
Yeah.
And then.
and then
we-
send it off.
And then we come in, we give a check for whatever the cost
Yep, whatever the
is
cost
to get
is.
that done. And we ask for a continuance now, every meeting until it's rectified, because we need a date certain
Right,
for this to happen.
yes.
Okay. I think that's probably the best course of action then.
Yeah.
How many acres is that total?
I knew somebody was gonna ask me that. I looked at the plan itself, and it's broken up into multiple spots, but I think it's about 60, right?
How many?
It's about 60. There's a piece in the back that's being left as remaining non-buildable parcel that's like 25 acres or so.
So you're gonna get almost 40 acres done.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in these retention ponds, they weren't, what were their relative to the water line?
Do you mean horizontally or vertically?
Alright, good.
Vertically, it depends. Some of them had multiple foot separation from the bottom to the seasonal high groundwater, and then others we found were actually too close to the groundwater. So in one case, we actually proposed a liner in front of the Stormwater Committee at the request of Beals and Thomas, so that we would make sure that it wouldn't have an infiltration property, but a detention property.
I just look at it as that being possible areas where the construction would put a damper on the delineation.
Oh, understood. So your concern is in the areas of the basin, maybe
You said
having
they were
wetlands
already
increasing.
done.
Yep, understood.
You get what that's
do.
what I'm getting
I
at.
do.
There's only one basin built, correct?
There's one built, but I think he's also saying the disturbance, because you had the skid steer
clearing,
go
yep.
in and cut the trees.
Well, they can do it, they're gonna use the
Yeah,
touch
it's-
auger. If it's already been cleared, they're gonna use the touch auger to find it.
Yeah, it's not, if it's not
Yeah.
hydric soils, it's not gonna become hydric. And
Right.
Yeah, but it has to be hydric, so within 15 inches. So now if you took 10 inches off of it and it was already
hydric, yeah.
hydric,
Mhm.
now you're falling in between that area where it would be considered a wetland.
But hydric and seasonal high water are two different things. Hydric is typically a color and a content of soil, whereas you can be in water table and not be in a wetland, and hit water table and not be considered a wetland as well. So if they took the topsoil off and it was hydric, you should still see gray material and the sign of water table, where you typically see the dark black up top, the mucky wetland soil. But if we took, in nice sands, and we took the topsoil off, we would have maybe a water table showing, but it would be sandy, and it wouldn't show the colors of a wetland. But that's something when we're walking with the botanist, we'll make sure that we address it if we're concerned with it. I appreciate your concern. I know you're looking out for the best interest on this. I really do. I see it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we can,
Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask
Yeah, go ahead.
one question? And I don't know if it's appropriate for this meeting, but it came up, I think, the other day. You graciously came out and presented this, whatever day it was. I'm losing track of my days here. But I think the operating and management plan came up for the detention ponds. And that's something, there was, the issue of a surety came up, and so I think that's something that, there was some discussion of potential homeowners or association. So I don't know, I just wanted to raise that because I don't know if it's appropriate.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll go through our notes. It's been about a year. We'll go through our notes and we'll put together, after I talk with my client, we'll put together something in writing for you and present it. So hopefully we can close that chapter out as well. That'd be nice.
And then the one other thing that was the replication. There were 2 replication sites, so it came up. It seemed like
Yep.
it was in progress. They were planned, but it came up the other day. So I mean, I don't know. Again, just making sure that that's squared away, or, you know,
Yep.
that's not the right term, but
Right, no, check that box off.
Where was the area that was being affected that was a wetland? Was it in the roadway?
So there were actually a couple of small areas. There was, if my memory serves correct, there's an area over near where this head wall's gonna go in. And then there were 2 areas near the head walls at the Deep Brook crossing, here and here. And the one over here. And then we had replication areas here, which is adjacent to this one. And we had a replication area here, which is adjacent to these 2.
So now, if we had it delineated net, why did they go back to the original soil? Because now it's not gonna show as a wetland, so now, you know what I'm getting at?
They didn't do the replications yet.
I know, but what I'm getting at is now they might not have to, because now it's not gonna be,
Well, those areas were affected because of the roadway,
I
so
get it.
they have to be done. It's part of the,
Yeah, so then, what I'm getting, if we had it delineated, right, and it was a wetland, now they changed it, they changed the soils, there's no plant life there. Technically, it wouldn't be coming up as a wetland as a delineation today. So now, they would not be required to do a replication for that area.
No,
Because that way.
No, they're still liable,
Yeah.
Why, because it would roll from
it's
the old.
on the plans they submitted to us.
so they have to. They have to follow that plan.
I don't think that we would pick that battle. If.
I'm just trying to process the whole thing, because like, that's a huge change. That's what I'm getting at with having it all done again.
So-
That's a huge change.
Just because somebody alters a wetland resource doesn't mean that they're now exempt from the Wetlands Protection Act there. So technically, we got partway through our construction period and our order lapsed. So what's best for everybody is that we get it back in place so we can complete it. But like you said, what happens in that case? Well, what happens would be that we're still on the hook to do the replication area at the very least.
Sure.
Because we have committed to filling in a small portion of
Previously.
wetland, disturbing it, and then replicating it. So at the bare minimum, we would have to
That didn't change.
do the replication.
That didn't change, all right.
Yeah, no, but it, never mind, you're just.
It didn't
not ca-
change.
You're not catching what I'm you're just not catching.
The delineation
We
line
tried-
might
I
change at the
understand.
resources, but they still gotta put them in, no matter what happens with the delineation line.
Yes.
And that didn't
I don't wanna get too
change.
technical, but
Thank you.
at the end of the day, it would change. And if this plan went out the window, and it went back and redid the whole thing again, it would change.
They can't.
They're not,
It
they're
can't
not,
because it's
I
been
know they're not, I'm
previously
just-
right, and then
constructed.
that's
That's where you're
gonna,
losing,
that would trigger a whole bunch of other things. That'd go through, start everything over with planning and this has already been approved.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious on how that would, like, that's where I'm just curious. I wanna make sure that every dot is connected. This is not a small project. This gentleman's been through the ringer already. And I don't wanna have any more fall on my back because I overlooked something. So yes, I'm gonna ask these questions.
I understand.
I
We're
have,
gonna go, right now, the first step in this
right,
process would be to send it out to one of these 3.
yeah.
Or
Let's get
select
the,
one of these 3, let them select one of these 3 that
Let's
they
review
choose.
that first.
And then we can have the same exact conversation whenever we have the new wetland line.
and just, I know this is just one more thing, as I'm thinking of it, before the new order is issued, we're gonna have to request a certificate of compliance for the old order. Because you're not supposed to have 2 orders for the same work at the same time, even though one is expired.
Right.
So, the way that we've handled this in the past is we would file the certificate request with part of the work completed, state what's been done, what's going to be done on the new order, so that it's very thorough. And that way you can release us from the existing order,
Prior.
and then we can record the new order.
Right,
So procedurally, we're clear.
yeah.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to be very upfront with that as I'm thinking about it.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Please.
All right, so, this is gonna probably take a little while, huh?
Well, you
Well-
gotta hit the ground running,
Yes.
right?
so the next step is getting these out to peer
Yeah.
review.
Yes.
Presumably, these 3 firms will come through. If not, we can go back to,
Well, what
you
if
know,
they
this, and
have,
we'll consult with y'all. This is a small point, but it's a really big file, so maybe I can work with someone at Zenith to get some kind of Dropbox
Yep.
that we can give
They
a
sent
copy.
it to me already.
And they don't have to
Yeah,
pick
but-
from these three, right?
Do you,
I
but
have-
so
They
can
don't
you
have to
share
pick
that
from
with?
these
Yeah.
three, right?
Jen
They can
sent
pick
it,
their
yeah,
own
we're all
ones.
set.
No,
Okay.
no, these are three that we
We-
looked into.
Yeah, but do they?
We're
have to
comfortable
go
with that.
Yeah, they have to use one of these. We're
That's-
letting them
that's-
choose
that's
which
the
one
process.
after we get it.
Right,
a
That's the
quote.
process,
that's how we've done it in the past.
yeah.
Yeah, I know, I just.
We hadn't, recently, we've been using Bill Madden strictly as our peer reviewer because we didn't have an agent. And I don't know how you guys feel, I trust the guy.
So do I.
Yeah, no,
But we
I
can't
think
use
he
one
gives
of
me
them.
We other
Really?
peer reviewers either, honestly. We reached out, I reached out to peer reviewers and I
Yeah,
didn't get any response.
we had a list
Right.
already.
I did Prime.
I just didn't know if they had a say on who
Field,
they wanted to have.
Yeah,
for-
Field,
do.
all
They
them, none of them were
They're
able to do
okay
it.
with that.
And you reached out to these guys already and they said they'd be able,
One I have an email in to, but I've talked to two. so,
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
I'll send you-
So that's, yeah,
yeah, so I mean, at least we got some sort of
right,
rule.
and we're comfortable with it,
Right.
that's
And,
right.
and they're okay with this process, so.
So, yeah,
Let's
I
move this
mean-
along.
Usually
In
it's
all
on a
fairness.
rotation basis, you know.
We were doing it on rotation,
Right.
but the
And-
rotation dropped off as the peer review
Right.
engineers dropped off.
Right,
Yep.
they're just not
And
there,
then-
right?
I mean, if
Drying up,
if the
so to
applicant
speak.
had a conflict, we take that into
Right.
consideration.
Well, we'll
obviously,
kick this
but
out
just a-
and then, let you know,
So we have to continue this to a date certain.
Right.
but we wanna do the December 13th?
Month out?
Yeah.
Was it the 11th?
Oh, 11th?
Yeah, so we can
Yeah.
do December 11th just for an update. I just want to remind members of the public that you got a butter notification for this meeting. You won't get any more butter notifications for these meetings dealing with Deep Brook. So what I can suggest to you guys is to go on the town website under conservation or under notifications at the absolute bottom of the page, choose conservation agendas, and you kind of have to follow along with that.
Yeah, sign up.
Our meetings are on Wednesdays, twice a month, maybe not the next 2 months because of holidays and stuff.
And
But
you
tip-
can look under our website,
Right.
conservation tab, and
Right.
if need be, call the office.
Yeah, or call the office, or, but yeah, so we'll tell you tonight. Well, I'll entertain a motion to continue this to the December 11th meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So yeah, December 11th will be our next meeting. Like I said, the email updates are great. I get them for all the boards, selectmen, planning. You can choose whatever you want to follow along with. But this project specifically will just be dealing with us.
That's the next one.
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
You want
Thank you guys.
Good night.
Hey,
Hi, Len.
thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay, well, this brings us to what we were just talking about.
Good night, yeah.
Friday, I'll reach out to your office or to you then.
Agent updates.
I appreciate that.
Peer review consultants, review matters presented, votes may be taken. So, well, we have a new list. As of right now, none of these guys have declined. I would just,
Who have we reached out to or who hasn't?
John Rockwell reached out to Mark, and Mark reached out to these two other companies. And we have Bill Madden from GAF. So,
And I have resumes for two of them, I can make copies and send them to you, whether it matters or not, but I think they all seem really qualified.
I know John
Ellie's-
Rockwell has done a lot of work for the commission in the past.
Has he? Yeah.
And at LEC, they have a bunch of different offices, and they provide all kinds of ecological services. So, I mean, I think they're a little bit bigger, maybe, but they all look good.
Yeah.
They all look good.
Right.
They have an office in Plymouth, is who I was reaching out to. The other's in, is it Warwick?
Yeah.
And we also gotta look at who's gonna be able to do it, right? We're gonna
Right.
say, if someone says, oh, this is 3 months out, we gotta try to find someone that's a little closer.
right.
I don't wanna push it that far.
Typically, that's what we were doing, Joanne. We had a rotation going, And we would, just go, who's next, who's next, who's next. We've been taxing Bill Madden. I talked to him the other day. He's working on White's right now. Solar.
11, yeah.
He said he's trying to wrap that up for us and planning. Yeah, so I think it's good that we have a list again, and we can do the same thing if you guys want. Or, I don't know.
I really feel comfortable with Bill Madden, truthfully.
I really do too. It
And,
happened in this case that there was
That he
a
can't,
conflict,
right, so we're gonna use someone else, and we'll see going further forward,
Yeah, I really like Bill. I think he's done great for us. He stepped in for a project that we were really having issues with
Oh, yeah,
stormwater.
over on
Never-
Main Street, yeah.
And, I knock on wood, I asked him about it. He said he hasn't heard anything either.
You said that they could, the applicant can pick any one of these three?
Yeah, well,
Or four?
typically, that's probably the best way to do it.
I like
If
that.
we all agree to these being, who we're using at this time, and if they want to pick, that's fine.
I think that's.
It's the fairest way, because, somebody may be looking for just a discount, or the
As
best
long
price.
as they're
They might be on a
reputable, as long as
budget.
they're reputable.
I don't have a problem with
Right?
any of these. I've done research into all of them, and I don't have an issue with any of them. So if the commission's okay with that, we can put a tab on, the website with the list of our peer review consultants that we use,
I
and
didn't
just
get
so
one
it's
for LEC.
transparent.
Yeah.
You familiar with him, huh? I have it.
I'm okay with that.
Right?
Do you guys want to do, should we take a formal vote on creating a list and putting it on the website, or?
Would it hurt, would it? What's the worst that's gonna
No,
happen if it wasn't
no.
needed?
No,
I think Mark's gonna get terms and conditions from each one, like me and Pat had done in the past.
yep,
So once we get that in from each company, if he's got some of those already, we'll keep that in the office, and then once we have that, I think then it could go to
yeah,
the
because they give a
website.
general overview of
Yeah.
how much a
Right.
general cost
Mhm.
for a project.
And then
Like that.
applicants can go to the website and
Yeah.
Yeah.
find somebody local, or
As long as-
somebody else.
As long as they agree and you agree,
Right.
Mark will sign that contract,
Right,
and then we get it down to the town accountant and the treasurer's office.
Sounds good.
Just,
all right,
you know.
Good.
sounds good.
If
So
you want it, do you want it like just agreed through an email verbal, or do they have to come here and actually, because that'll take more time to get that agreement like on,
Yeah, I think emails suffice.
yeah, if they're both in
It's for
agreement.
the record.
As
Right, it's
long
on the
as-
Yeah,
record,
the-
I mean, if
the-
somebody
as long
wants.
as it's
Engineer's gonna
written.
sign it, Mark's gonna sign it, and that'll be binding.
Yep,
Yeah,
Something right.
That's what we have an agent for.
yep,
right.
I agree. That works.
Good.
All right, I don't think we need to take any action on it. I think
Yeah.
that's just
It's
how,
been working.
right.
Okay.
All right, sorry, agent updates, go ahead.
So there's two things, a lot of things came up in the regular agenda. I should put the date down, but Brad Holmes went out to 324 Main Street, that's Jose Roman's place, and Jim was there, and we met him out there. And so I need to follow up with Brad, but on site, he proposed coming up with a strategy to mitigate the impacts. And he proposed, I'd never heard of it, but it's a friendly enforcement order. He said he'd provide me the form, I don't know exactly, but basically, it's an enforcement order, but it gives the property owner.
Step-by-step guidelines.
Yeah, but they don't need a notice of intent, but permit to work in the resource area. Mr. Holmes is gonna delineate the wetland, he probably has done that already. No engineered site plans, but Brad is gonna use GPS and to lay out the site. And I can provide you some more details if you have questions, but just working off my notes. And then there was an issue, I think part of the impacted resource area was actually on the adjacent property owners. It was across his property line. So Mr. Roman went and got a letter from his neighbor. I guess they have a long-term relationship, and he was fine with Jose doing the work on the property and remedying. So Brad Holmes said, we just need to get a letter. So apparently there's a letter in place, so that's kind of an update on that one. So I guess my question to the commission was, are you comfortable with that approach? It's kind of a little less formal approach to getting the
Well, it's still formal, because I mean, it is through enforcement, but it's,
friendly.
right, well, he's been receptive to our concerns, and he's looking to remedy the problem, so I don't have an issue with it.
There just needs to be
As long
guidelines.
as you see positive progress,
Right.
I think that's
There's
fine.
guidelines, and that's what the friendly
Right,
order is.
it's,
I mean, talking to Brad, it was really a nice way, the way he was putting it, and he's gonna find the line before he makes any recommendation, like where the mulch gets moved or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, it was actually really nice talking to him and going it over with him. He actually did a few augers for, just for Mark and I while we were there, and he actually thought the line was a little closer to the, corral than what I would show, because he thought the pines were gonna be fine, and actually, I think some of them might not be, but he says he'll put the whole line in. He said it was a few weeks out, Mark, before he could get there, but, he is gonna get there, he's gonna put the whole line in, and then from there, we'll figure out how Jose is gonna attack it to redo it.
So, you're saying it went into the pine? You're talking about the spruce?
Yeah.
The spruce and
The ones that were cut down.
Those
It's
were
up
pines.
closer, yeah, it was
Those
up,
were pines.
yeah, it's up closer
They
to,
were spruce,
They were?
yes.
but it's up closer to than what he figured, but he just pulled a couple lines, he's gonna do the whole thing, and when he does it, and then it's gonna give us an exact line with the
Yeah, there
the
was, yeah.
GPS coordinates, and I think it's the right way to go, I really do.
Mark, I had a question regarding this.
Not a,
Did we
lumberjack,
follow up
you
with
know?
Mr. Roman on what he's exactly doing with the manure?
Yeah, and that's it.
Oh,
Thanks
yeah.
for bringing that
At
up.
that point.
We asked him, and he said he was pretty adamant that he's dealing with it, removing it far away from the barn, up into the barn, so, I'll follow
What he's
up
saying
with
is a lot of it, he's turning into a compost and putting it in gardens, and people, I guess, are using in gardens.
So did you guys set eyes on where he's storing this?
So
No,
we had
that
no
should've-
piles. We had no piles to visually see. He said that he has one horse that does all his manuring inside the barn. He has one that does outside. We did see the manure in the corral. I think it's something that we should look into a little further once we get our lines from
Yeah.
Brad, so then we can go say, okay, where is it? We want to see the pile, and then we can tape it off. I mean, if it's real close to his lines, then we might say, hey, listen, we
Yeah,
want you to take that off-site. But let the lines get there first
Right.
before we
I
start
agree.
hunting the
Yeah.
property,
I agree.
is my own opinion.
I
Yeah,
agree.
okay.
That way
Thanks for
keep
bringing
them
that up.
cooperative.
Yeah. You know, and keep everything going fair.
I think we have a good dialogue with
Yeah.
the resident, and
All right,
I think it can be a working relationship.
yeah. At least it's moving along.
Right.
And I actually, just so you know, I took a little walk further with Brad out of that area, and I had him do a couple loggers for me, and exactly what I told Jose was stay the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And he says, I have no problems, no issue. He's actually gonna move his equipment a little further out of that area for us. He was saying that he brings hay in that area. I asked him not to go in that area anymore with hay, bring it through the front of your barn. So he seems like whatever we're gonna ask, he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident that he is going to. He's actually really nervous that this could put him bankrupt. I don't feel we should do that to anybody.
No.
And I feel if he has to take a little time or whatever, but let's wait to hear back from Brad, and then we'll walk it again, I'm sure, once we get the line.
Yeah.
And then once we get the line, then we can explore his yard a little further and maybe find a manure pile that we don't like, and then address it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I like it.
I've got, so one other thing, so the commission is aware. Monday at 9:30, we're going out, Brad Holmes and myself, we're going out to walk Sincarpa and take a look at those, the wetland delineation out there. So,
I'll take a walk with you.
okay, and I try to let people know, I know everybody's,
Yeah,
you know, but,
you
you
gotta work.
know,
I know, work's tough.
Yeah, you've done it.
it spoils everything.
All right, good. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, I have something.
Everett, what do you got?
I would just like to inform the commission that I have submitted my letter of resignation from the board because of my physical health. I'm not doing a fair job, not being able to go out on the sites. So, as of the end of December, I am no longer going to be on the commission, but I'll be here for you if you have any questions.
Ever, I told you, we can get you a drone, dude. I'm serious, like, you're gonna get better, and
It's
we'll
a
have
done
something.
deal now.
Huh?
It's a done deal.
You sure, man?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while anyway, so.
Yep.
Everett, I'd like to say on behalf of not only the town, but of the commission, for all your years of service, dedication, and just the complete care into what you do and have done for this town, this community.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I agree, Everett.
Thank you,
I can't say enough about Everett. It's my guy, that's what I say.
It takes a big man to make that decision too, I
Yeah.
respect that decision.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Be a tough seat to fill.
So what are you gonna do now?
Tough
Shoes.
seat to fill.
Tough shoes, yeah.
You're gonna have a lot to do every other Wednesday night. More car shows?
No, not in the winter time.
So Eric, tell us more about this drone that you're gonna use.
I do work for the election commission also, so.
Oh.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, yeah.
We were joking about getting a side-by-side for the commission.
I wasn't joking. You can say you were joking. I wasn't joking. I already bought one. Well, not one of them. I got a four-wheeler. You can take it anytime.
No, I appreciate you, Everett. I totally understand.
It's not fair to the people whose property that we're supposed to be assessing. Not to be able, I mean, like, this week was good because you could drive right in,
Right.
didn't have to walk really far.
Yeah.
But like, even though I know like White's property, I'm not out there in the field, so.
Right.
Yeah, you don't really know what we're seeing.
Well, still expect phone calls when I
Yeah, right.
need
Yeah,
some.
well,
Yeah, definitely.
Like I said,
Definitely.
I'll probably drop in anyway to listen
Sure.
to the meetings.
I can call you now, whatever.
Oh, boy. Come
Come on
on
I
now.
need to
He's gonna become one of the bubble guys.
Did you say he was
Hey, you want a part-time job?
One of the podium, state your name.
You just said he was retiring now, come on.
You don't gotta go to the podium, Everett. All right, well, you just ruined my night.
Yeah.
Didn't expect.
No, I appreciate you, Everett. It's okay. You gave me this awesome hat last week. It was for my kids. I said I'm keeping it. He's my guy. All right, future business. Next meeting of the Conservation Commission will be on November 13th, 2024. Meeting held at the Town Hall Meeting Room right here at 122 Main Street, Acushnet, Mass. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hey.